Okay. Happy Friday, PSWs and friends, and welcome to PSW Podcast, where we come to you guys live every single Friday around 11 a.m. to talk about the PSW field, the PSW profession, tips and tricks, the truths, the realities. We definitely talk about the gray area that nobody ever wants to talk about. That's something we're definitely known for. My name is Miranda Romanovich. I'm the CEO of the Ontario PSW Association and host of PSW Podcast. And yet again, I'm joined by my co-host, Ian De Silva, who is the Chief Operating Officer for both associations as well. And today we're talking about the challenges and changes in the PSW profession over the course of the last many years that the PSW has been around.
Yep, I think a good idea is start at the beginning and let's talk about the beginning to COVID, and then from there, how about that? Does that sound?
Sounds great. So for those of you
Good
that
way
are watching,
to-
yeah, for those of you that are watching us right now, so many of you guys might know this, some of you might not. But the PSW profession was actually created, the designation was created in 1998. So it was created and it was an amalgamation of the Home Support Worker 1 and 2 and the Healthcare Aid Program. We all know the healthcare aides from way back in the day and we bow to their experience. But the PSW was created back in 1998 as kind of amalgamating these things for bedside care across Ontario. And it was made and it was created that way because the nurses didn't have the time nor the want anymore really to do bedside care because they have so many other duties that they had to take care of because their scope of practice increased, and therefore we were created. So the PSW program, when it first started, was about, I think, 3 or 4 months in length. It was very short, very quick, and it actually became a 1-year college program in 2005. That was the first. I was a part of the first group at Mohawk College to go through the 1-year program for the PSW course, and it was busy. Yeah, that's what I remember. It's a whole lot of busy. All I did was go to school and do work and go to long-term care homes for my clinical and do home care in my community for my other part of my clinical, and it was a busy time. So the PSW, I don't think, Ian, because a lot of people still don't know what a PSW is, which absolutely blows my mind.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, and
yes,
and
it is.
yeah.
Everyone thinks that there's little to distinguish when you're actually on a job between a physically distinguish between a nurse and a PSW or an RPN and an RN, or even for some cases a doctor and an RN. They're all in scrubs. So yeah, it is hard for people to differentiate.
Oh, absolutely, it is. And they and well, many times PSWs also get called nurses. We are not nurses. We are actually a fully separate designation from the nurse, and we should be proud of that because we're PSWs. And so over the years, the PSW has has definitely blown up and expanded, and we're seeing PSWs working in all different sectors across long-term care, home care, typical places they work. But now we're seeing them in the board of educations, we're seeing them in group homes, we're seeing them in independent living, we're seeing them working privately in their own communities, and we're seeing them in the hospital. And in many hospitals, they're still referred to as porters, unfortunately. But in some hospitals, they are actually referred to as PSWs, and they're there to do the bedside care. So that's a huge growth.
Don't forget, we also started adopting the term orderly for PSW in certain hospitals in Ontario.
Oh,
So
that's right, orderly.
which
Yeah,
was
I
which
don't, I
is the
don't
new
like that.
term, but for our perspective, it's a very archaic and very dangerous term. I don't like the term orderly. I think it implies that there's disorder, I think. And I
Why don't they just call us candy stripers if they're going to go that far? Like
exactly, yeah.
and I mean that's showing our age, because I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this have no idea what a candy
No
striper
idea.
is.
Candy Striper was a volunteer that existed about 30 years ago. They were usually with girls. I think there were guys they dressed in stripes, and they went
Oh,
around hospitals and they spread goodwill. My mother was a
they
candy striper.
yeah, they look like candy canes.
They look like candy canes.
They look like candy canes, hence the term candy
Stripers.
stripers.
We're an inventive lot here in Ontario.
We are very inventive.
But
Absolutely. I think it's definitely
sorry,
interesting.
back to what we're talking about. So no, you're right.
Yes.
But now back to the PSW though. So the PSW up until about 2020 is when it was the pre premature maturation period, I guess is what we want to say. So what happened in 2020?
Well, in 2020, it was honestly, it was an amazing from an association standpoint, and so many of you guys do understand, like, so I am a PSW myself. I worked in long-term care, home care, hospital settings as a PSW for many, many, many years. But the association's also been around for 15 and a half years now. And back in 2020, Mr. Ian here and I suddenly had to hit the ground running because PSWs became an indispensable and essential worker, something that we had been fighting for prior to that, in a matter of hours.
Hours.
So, like, it literally was hours. Like, COVID hit, and suddenly the PSW was an essential worker, and suddenly, the association was front and center with the Premier's office here in Ontario, even Canada wide with Canada Health. We were really the term PSW was on the lips of literally everybody through the COVID. And it was at that time that we realized very quickly, even though, the association had been talking about it for years prior, we didn't have enough PSWs. We didn't have that army. Like I said to the Premier, we needed an army. We didn't have an army. And and since 2020, we really, I mean, 20, it was terrible. Okay, COVID was hell, let's just be honest. Hell for a lot of our members. We actually lost 9 of our members to COVID, that when they were working in long-term care. But I mean, it was hell, but at the same token, it was really good for the PSW. And it sounds contradictive to say that, but it enabled the PSWs to really shine.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think what happened during the COVID was the PSW was always somewhat disregarded.
Mm.
You're just the part of the care team that does the heavy lifting, and you don't need to pay attention. Once they realized that how much work they did, and I think that was really crystallized for us when they brought the military in.
Oh yeah.
These were soldiers doing the jobs of PSWs, and the soldiers were demanding danger pay on top of their wages. This I found remarkable. So I mean, and yet that pattern of, well, they're just PSWs seemed to continue. So I call that balderdash. Like, to give me a break. If
Oh, it is.
if soldiers can't do this job,
It,
come on. So anyway, that was a
I remember that too so distinctly because I think a lieutenant from or a colonel from the military actually called us
yep.
and wanted to have a conversation with us because they were so flabbergasted, and admired greatly the job that the PSWs do, and they could not believe the amount of work that the PSW has to do in these long-term care homes. They were flabbergasted. They were stunned by what they were finding out from the soldiers that had gone into these long-term care homes.
These are men and women trained to fight combat. This is the highest stress kind of environments they're trained to do. They found long-term care during the COVID to be worse than combat. So I
Worse
think
than
really
combat.
do. So for every PSW out there doing whoever worked through the COVID, you are hats off to you, because again, you do more than you can imagine if our own army struggles under the pressure. So I think
Crazy part is we just do it.
we do. I know.
PSWs, they just do it. They just, we get going, we get into a rhythm, we just do it, and we don't stop to think, is this right?
No, no, I agree. That's what makes the profession so strong. But today the profession's in a different spot. Today we're continuing our maturation. The profession's getting strong and robust. Um, we had some news come up recently. Did you want to talk about that a bit, or?
Sure, sure. So yesterday, the Minister of Long-Term Care announced that the majority of homes in the province of Ontario have met the 4.5 hours of care for the residents in long-term care. And a big congratulations to Minister Kusindova Bashta for achieving that goal. However, we will be working with the Ministry of Long-Term Care in order to get the numbers because we really, really want to see them, because we're hearing different from the front line. So this is going to be
Yeah.
an interesting kind of, congratulations to the government, of
Oh,
course, of
this is excellent.
course. Excellent job, well done. But yeah,
Yeah, I think
this is a tough one.
The problem when it comes to these types of announcements is that they rely on the use of averages to show the benefits. So when they're averaging is that there's now an increased 1 hour of care across residents across Ontario. That sounds wonderful. But when you actually distill that down to the patient experience, I think that's where we have a little bit more, we see a little bit more gaps because yes, they might be getting more time, but we don't know what constitutes that time. Is this companion time? Is this time where they're in the room while they're sleeping?
Yeah.
Like we don't know what this 4 hours of care is, and we know the intention is for it to be when they're awake and during their activities of daily living. Um, and we've noticed that in the GTA. So PSWs out there, I know, Randy, you get them on your TikTok. A lot of interest for jobs in the GTA and long term care. They're filled. The staffing crisis in long term care in Toronto and the GTA is over. It
Mhm.
has been completely solved. It is done. Um,
Yep.
Anyone who says that there's a staffing or nursing crisis, no. Which brings the question of why they're doing the incentive still, but I support the incentive if it gives members more money, and absolutely, it's great.
Oh,
But
absolutely. A lot of questions.
I'm a little, on
A
wonder.
lot of questions. A lot
A
of
lot of
questions.
questions.
Because and then that's why, so for everyone watching, like Ian and I talked last night in length about this because and it's we're definitely not no bashing on the government, they
No,
really are trying so hard here. We're just really confused because like Ian said, I go on TikTok, 3 4 times a week, and I engage and so does Ian through our chat system and all that. We engage with PSWs on the daily, a lot of them in long-term care, and we're not hearing the same things that the government's stating is happening. So
I think
I maybe we're
has,
wrong. I don't know.
we don't know. Has this extra hour of care resonated in quality of life improvements? That's the question. And is it possible? We don't know. So I think this is why we want to revisit the ratio idea because ratios are firm. It
Yeah.
guarantees people are in that room for the hour. And this brings, and it removes the ambiguity from this concept of 4 hours of care. For the record, we were never huge on the idea of the 4 hours of care mandate as an
I never did. Do you remember when they came out with that?
yeah, so for the record, the association was never terribly supportive of that. We thought it would be it's a bit of a misleading way of looking at delivering patient care. I'm going to be honest here. It's a good positive step. Yes, it's a good step in the right direction, but are we actually seeing the resonation of care? Would the residents of long-term cares and their families right now be celebrating? I don't know. We're not seeing
I,
it. I'm sure they are. I'm sure many are, but for the benefit of those viewers right now, anyone who's looking and you're looking for a job in the GTA, especially long-term care, and especially if you're looking for an LMIA, you're very unlikely to get it because that staffing is surplus right now.
Staffing crisis in the GTA has been solved.
So if you have
So
people in long-term care in the GTA that are not getting care, talk to the people that are running that home because there's plenty of staff. They're just not using them. So
yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And just going back to your ratio statement and about the 4 hours of care, I remember when they came out with that, and like we said, it's a great concept. It's a move in the right direction. But I could
absolutely.
never, and still to this very day, I cannot wrap my head around how are you getting to 4 hours of care per resident per day, and you don't have set ratios in place because then there's no guarantee of how many PSWs nurses are on the floor in long-term care. Like I'm still just not, and this is why it's going to be so interesting if the Ministry of Long-Term Care does send us the data, Ian, because I really want to see this because I want to find the example of what works. I think that's what we're looking at is, where are these long-term care homes that have succeeded in this mandate and, apparently over exceeded it by 5 minutes according to the press release.
And
Um,
please
yeah.
continue. I got
No,
it.
go ahead.
No, and yet we're still getting concerns of the GTA saying I'm working short. I'm working short.
This
How is
is
that
this
even
is the
possible?
disconnect.
Well, how is
This
that
is
even possible? So we either have lots of PSWs in the GTA that don't know what working short is, which I don't think is the case,
no.
or we have a lot of managers, or we have a lot of staff, surplus staff in the GTA, and they're working short on purpose to save money. It's one or the other. Sorry, but it is. So if you're,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm calling out long-term care right now for if you're a provider and you have a shortage of staff, that's just that's basically a lie. Sorry, there's no reason for that.
there's so many, like every time I go on TikTok, when someone says, I don't have, like I can't find a job and, I need help finding a job. And now my question to them are you in the GTA?
That's what we
Because
have.
it seems to be that that's the case. Hold on a
Absolutely.
second. My phone is doing a thing.
Yeah, and that seems to be
Um,
the issue. We're also dealing with a large group of graduates, Miranda, that's come up. I'm going to keep talking. Just
yeah, please do.
yeah, there's
Absolutely.
also we're dealing with a large group of graduates that have come up. So we've been the problem in the GTA for staffing, at least based on the numbers, is solved. So if you're a PSW that's working short and you're in the GTA, you need to let the ministry know because they need to get those hours up. Because I think we really want to support the ministry and making sure they get that 4 hours of care. So we're going to call on our members. Let's get them out there. Find out if are you working short in the GTA, because we will make sure that we can help you guys reverse that. Because there's some bad eggs out there that are still continuing to play the game where they're going to work short to say they don't have enough money just so they can get more money the next year. Oldest
Exactly.
game
And
in the
so
book.
let us know. Yeah, let us know. We will take it right to the Ministry of Long-Term
Yeah,
Care,
it's
and we will help you rectify the problem of working short in long-term care.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't see a problem
Absolutely.
with that. And I
Yeah.
think this really comes down to patient rights. So if you're a family member out there and you're not seeing this 4 hours of care, or you are seeing this 4 hours of care and you're happy. Just for the other side of it, though, if this is actually working and you're a home that's achieving this, can you let us know? Because this is really good. You deserve to be showcased as an example to others. Um, so let's leave that out there and see what happens. I just my thoughts. So
Think, yeah, I really hope that there are homes that are doing this, and
there
and
are
again,
so
congratulations to
there
Minister
are some
Kusindova
amazing.
for this.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Well, it's been solved. So
Now we got to work on everything outside of the GTA.
yeah,
I mean, I know
yeah.
some people think
But we're
that
still. But we know
on
that we also know that the problem is largely solved in cities like London, because London has a huge surplus of PSWs that we're getting inundated with looking for long-term care jobs. Yet at the same time, we're seeing the same long-term care facilities complain of being short-staffed. There is a disconnect. So yeah, we've made our point.
and that's why I think I love the association and what we do here, Ian, so much, because out of all the professional associations, I think that we are the ones that really truthfully have our thumb on the heartbeat. And what I mean by that is we actually talk to the PSWs on the daily. And I don't sit in my office and not talk to PSWs, because at the end of the day, we need to know from them what's going on so that we can fight for them and rectify issues, and bring it to the government's attention if there are problems. And I'm not positive if other associations do that on the level that we do. And I think that's why we know so much. I think that's why when we see a press release like that, we kind of go, wait a tick. Like we're talking to our people and we're hearing opposite.
Yeah, and again, it's good news, but it's just we're a little like okay,
Confused?
well, I think it explains a lot. It explains a lot of the things we've been seeing. So we're not surprised, but again, we want to make sure that if you're in a home and you're working short staffed and you're in the GTA, what is the name of this home? They need to be talked to. They need to have some supports, I think.
They're saying most of the time we do work short.
But what where in the GTA though?
But
Like
where in the GTA? Can you
or
tell
is it,
us, Ian? Where in the GTA? Sorry, on our TikTok, they just said
it,
most of the time we do work short.
so again,
So
in GTA,
yeah,
I know Minister Kusindova would agree with us. There's absolutely no excuse for any long-term care home to be working short. Absolutely not. And
the amount of PSWs coming out of the GTA is
I know she would agree with that.
phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Like even here where I live in Cambridge, Kitchener, and Waterloo region, there's no long-term care homes either that should be working short, because there is an abundance, especially from Conestoga and St. Louis, that that come out into our communities,
Exactly.
2-3 times a year. So they really should not be working short.
Yeah, and also, then the other side of this is a conversation that we're going to have more of is, are these 4 hours of care resulting in increased full-time hours for PSWs?
Well, you know
That's
what?
a whole other thing. I didn't mean to jump on
I
that.
pray
Sorry.
for the day, Ian. I know. I pray for the day because, we've always said with full-time hours, then there's more retention. The PSWs then don't have to get a second job in order to make one paycheck. Like it just would make more sense. But I find that employers, no matter how great or not great they are, have a lot of power over certain things. And these certain things they should not have power over.
No, and we've spoken with past ministers who described having this power being demonstrated very clearly and being abused. So
Oh,
we won't
massively
comment
being
further.
used.
We
Yeah.
won't comment further on that. Uh,
No.
but yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a big
No.
topic. So anyway, I think I
Yeah.
think
Near Toronto. Near Toronto.
so again, we're looking at near
Yeah.
Toronto. If
Thank
you're
you,
working
Hannah.
short staff near Toronto, this is not a violation if you tell us, like, listen, your home is obviously suffering from an issue with recruitment. There is no excuse. So contact us. We'll make sure that home and make sure the ministry is aware that this home is going to get some support. It's no problem.
Absolutely.
No problem at all.
Absolutely. It's all
Yeah,
about teamwork, you know. It always works better when you work with the government as opposed to against. And we're very much about supporting the government in certain initiatives. And just so you guys are aware as well, is that the incentive for PSWs, people becoming PSWs, is still active, and they have put more money into it. So that incentive is still being rolled out, is what they said in the press release yesterday. However, the wait times are still wait times. So we still have PSWs that qualified for the incentive a year ago, and they're still waiting on their money today.
yeah, we've
So
heard 36-month waits in some cases. So
yeah,
patience is a virtue apparently with the benefit, but it better than not having it. So let's
exactly,
get more
exactly.
information. So let's
I
good.
will. I
That's for rural people, by the way. That won't apply to the GTA. It just if you're
No,
looking
it will not apply to the GTA. No, it
and you
will
need to
apply.
and for everyone out there, you need to do the process from the beginning, find the right school that's sponsoring and the employer that's sponsoring, and then you're good. You can't jump in halfway through. It's a bit of a not quagmire, but there is a demonstrated process you do have to follow. So
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, this has been a really kind of powerful.
well, it's a serious issue. I mean, there like we hear one thing, the government says something different. We need to know what is the truth. That's what this is about. So
No, absolutely, I agree. What is the truth? It's
and it's going to vary from long-term care home to long-term care home, which is why we need this kind of granular approach to dealing with
vary from region to region to region.
neighborhood to neighborhood.
Neighbor to neighbor, yeah, exactly, right? So, the PSW world is always evolving. The PSW is not going anywhere. I mean, we are very much still an active association, active profession. This is going to be going on for a very, very long time. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens for the PSW in the future. I mean, so much has already changed just from when I became a PSW in 2006 to now. When I hear people say, PSWs need to make more money. And then I ask them how much money they make, and they're like, oh, $29.95 an hour.
It's not bad.
And I'm going, blink, blink, blink. Are you kidding me?
More than we make.
Um, yeah, right. Like $29.95 an hour. I'm like, that is phenomenal. And what PSWs need to understand is you guys are going to school for under a year.
Yes.
And that is a reality. And I'm talking to the PSWs. That is a reality. I'm not trying to be negative, but you cannot come out of school and expect to make $40 an hour. It's not going to happen.
No, it's very rare. Only in healthcare. In any other profession, you're coming in, you're making less. Um, I just just be. You're not as worse off as you think you are. I think that's what we're trying to
Yes.
say. For a
I think
year,
that's what I'm trying to say is like
yeah,
where I started as a PSW back in the day, like 8.95 an hour or 8.75 an hour, and the top that a PSW could make was like 17,
yeah, that's a bit much.
you
Again,
know?
but again, the PSW role is important, and but again, we don't get in this for the money. You don't become a PSW to become wealthy.
Yeah, you don't. And if
Well, you,
And if you get into it to become wealthy, all the power to you. Good luck, because you're going to be working 1,000 years to become
there's
a
there's always six paths of success, but I think we've had a good conversation, and
absolutely,
I'm going to.
absolutely.
You're on to TikTok, am I assuming? Am I?
I am onto TikTok. So for those of you that are watching, I'm actually going to be switching over right now to our TikTok. I'm going to pause the live here on TikTok, and then I'm going to be back to do a Q&A and have more conversation about PSW. But thank you so much to everyone for joining us. It was a bit of a chaotic chaotic one. But you know what? We're passionate about what we do. We're passionate about PSWs. And for those of you that are watching that haven't done so, we're doing a very special spooky Halloween PSW podcast on the 31st of October. And we are looking for your spooky stories, PSWs.
We've
We
got
want to hear your stories from your long term care homes, your home care, your retirement homes, the things that you have experienced. And when I tell you that we have had some stories already come in
Oh my God.
that have blown my mind, and we're going to be sharing these stories on our PSW podcast on October 31st. And the best story is going to win a huge package of PSW
Stuff
swag.
and like,
Oh,
probably
yeah.
gift card. We'll throw something in there too, because the story we've been reading them, and like I was at night. You're like, that's a scary story. Of course, right when it's dead of night, you start thinking about these stories.
Oh, yeah,
Whatever.
it's really scary. It
Because
definitely was
they're
scary.
they're not like long drawn out stories. These are just experiences, and they're quite chilling. So we'll leave it there.
Yeah. So if you want to share your story, make sure to email us. Make sure to put it on our Facebook. Heck, you can put it on our TikTok. Send us a DM with your stories. And then we're going to be sharing that on October 31st for a very special, spooky PSW podcast.
It'll be different.
So join us again next Friday on PSW podcast. Do we know what we're talking about? No. But we'll come up with that within the next week. Thanks again for joining us on PSW Podcast, guys. It's always a pleasure. If you're not a member yet, make sure to head over to our website, www.opswa.ca. Remember, if you're not a member, you're not protected. So make sure you guys get on that. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. TikTok, I'll see you guys in a few minutes. And with that, we're going to say, OPSWA out.